Inservice for this year. Wanted to try a little something different so that hopefully to make it a little more effective. So we're going to do simulation for that today. And what I want you all to do is for real react how you would should you have a real OR fire. Okay? So, and it's already open. Okay. So your scenario is Star here is your patient. She's 50 years old. She's here for a left neck abscess. She's under IV sedation with locals, so she has a nasal cannula in. You have a bovie, you've got saline, everything's kind of as normal, okay? Square draped with the towels, paper drapes on top. She doesn't have any allergies. She doesn't have anything weird about her. No jewelry, nothing like that. Her hair is contained. You're prepped. We're gonna go ahead and say that your prep has been dry for 3 minutes, the normal dry time.
Oh,
and,
I agree.
all right, and we've done our timeout. So we've all agreed, and now we can start our procedure. So we're plugging along, your bovie's hooked up, and you're working on your abscess.
Now that we're in the last part of the fire.
That's okay. Shake, shake, shake.
That's all good.
Okay. I know what to do. I'm not a really good actor.
Also that.
You see it?
I see it.
Okay, so what you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Get that saline.
Okay, you got a fire.
Fire!
All right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What have you done?
Nothing.
She doesn't. Okay. No, this is good. This is good. All right, let's cut off the O2. We can cut off the music. Our patient's on fire. We're going to get the drapes off. Uh-huh. All right, so how's our patient doing? She's kind of fried, huh? Okay, so this is exactly what I wanted to see.
We have to cut off the oxygen and then turn on air to our patient.
Okay?
Air's on.
Perfect. All right, so this scenario is a very likely situation with a procedure that close to an airway with a nasal cannula, okay? You've got a fresh source of O2 kind of going. If you have a fire, yes, it's going to follow the source of O2 on the patient, okay? Now, here's the deal. If you for real react that slow, you're going to burn that patient's airway. You can't wait. You can't go, well, yeah, I think I see a little smoke. You have to react immediately, okay? So the first thing we do is, like Peggy said, shut off the O2. She's got the room air going. You must pour saline on it immediately. Get the drapes off the patient onto the floor. These drapes are designed to not combust and flame. It's going to smolder. Okay, so what's going to happen? You're not going to see the flame on top of the drape, probably. Not likely. What's going to happen is it's going to smolder below. You may never even see a flame. Okay, you may only see that little bit of smoke, or you may see what appears to be like a little flashback or like arcing on a bovie. Have you seen that yet? Okay, so you may see like where it kind of, especially in a laparoscopic procedure and it has char on it, you might see a little arcing where it kind of sparky looking. Okay. So you might or might not see something like that. But if you see smoke or you smell smoke, you've got to assume it's a fire, okay? If you wait too long, that will follow the airway and go into the airway of the patient, okay? And down into the lungs. So, let's see. So we already talked about stopping O2, remove the drapes, we're gonna take care of the patient. Let's assume this happened. Then anesthesia is probably going to request that, well, first of all, you've called for help and people are coming, but anesthesia will come with a glide scope, most likely do general anesthesia, visualize your airway to see whether damage has or hasn't been done or to what extent. Okay, we're going to contain the fire. At this point, most likely your fire is going to be out and contained. If for some reason it's not, then you need to do what you can to contain it. There is a fire extinguisher on the wall should that become necessary. All right, if you have to evacuate the room, if that fire's still going within a minute, you've got to get your patient out of the room, okay? By then, the desk is gonna have 50 people in here helping you. They will help you get your patient out. Depending on where you are with your procedure, if you haven't started yet, it may be that you just go to recovery. Or if you have started your procedure and you're almost done, it may be that we find out our patient's airway is okay, we have a superficial burn, we're gonna close our patient up and then go to PACU, okay? It may be something like that. We have a fire risk assessment tool in the circulators documentation. I'm not sure if you've seen that yet. But if you, this would be a class 3 fire risk, which is the highest one. You're above the xiphoid process. You're using something that can start a fire, and you have an open airway. So that's the highest risk for a probability of a fire. If possible, if you're doing a trach, you want to cut the O2 off and go to room air before, hey Riley, come on in. Before the surgeon does his incision into the trachea to put in the trach tube, okay? Also, the one thing you want to be careful of is the tinting of the drapes. So on this patient, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the drapes were laying on the patient's face instead of being away from the patient's face. So it's important that we keep those drapes off the patient's face so that the O2 can kind of dissipate instead of trapping underneath those drapes. The other thing is saline on your field. Do you always have saline on your back table? Always? 100% of the time? You better. Because, no, you have to. Because if this happens, you have nothing to put out your fire with unless anesthesia. Anesthesia can't stand up and turn off the O2 and cut bags of saline to provide you saline that you should have had on your back table. That's your job. So if you're scrubbed in a procedure, you better have something wet on that back table to put that out if you needed to. They have their own stuff to deal with, okay? So it's definitely a team effort, and everybody's role is super duper important, okay? Any questions about that? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you explain the different fire risk levels?
Yes. So 3 is going to be above the xiphoid, open airway, and you got a fire starter, which is a bovie or a light source or something of that nature. Laser would apply. Yes.
What about the battery? Is that considered?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so next would be your tube. So you're looking at like lap chole, for instance. Your closed airway, you're below the xiphoid, but you still have a bovie, light source, both. Okay? You are below the xiphoid. You are using, let's say you're doing a carpal tunnel. You're using a bipolar instead of a bovie. So you've just taken that part away and your airway's closed. So you don't have a fire risk for that.
Okay.
Because you don't have anything to ignite it, you have a closed airway, and you're below that xiphoid process. Does that make sense? So anything that can start your fires is going to be your drills, your bovies, your light sources, your lasers. Make sense? Generates heat. Okay. Most of our procedures are under general, so it's not as common to do something like this like it used to be. Should you have something like this happen, then of course afterwards you're going to want to save everything. Bag it, save it. Your bovie pad for your lot numbers, your preps, because they're going to want to see what size you used. Did you use the appropriate size prep stick, or was it too big for the surface area covered? Okay. Your bovie machines, you're going to want to write down lot number off of it, all that sort of stuff. Your drapes, the sheets underneath the patient, because they're going to want to know, did your prep pull on? Okay. Your prep takes how long to dry? 3 minutes. Unless it's a hairy area, which extends it to what? To an hour. 45 minutes to an hour is what you're looking at, right? So if you've got those woolly booger patients, you need to, well, not you, they need to be clipped before they come to the OR. Because at that point, you know you folks barely wait for a 3-minute dry time. They're not going to wait for a 45 minute to an hour dry time, okay? Right?
That'd be funny trying to seal that up.
Right. So clip them. They need to be clipped outside the OR if they're in that situation.
Prep gets in their hair.
I'm sorry?
Prep gets in their hair. 45 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. 45 minutes to an hour. Yes, and that hair should not be getting prep in it. If you are up there and you start to see the circulators prepping and you see it running, then call them out on it and say, hey, your prep's running right here. Absolutely.
Now would be a good time to address this situation.
Okay.
Do you see there's